Hello and welcome back to Andrew Eborn's Lives on Lockdown. I'm delighted to go all the way over to my favourite Tommy Cooper tribute. Hello, Clive. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you very much. Just basking in the sun, obviously, there.
Look at that for a view.
Just tantalising you a bit. Can you smell the salt air there?
I love the smell of the salt air. Not only that, I can smell the seagulls as well. How gorgeous is that?
And you can recognise Brownsea Island. I think you were talking about that
Isn't
briefly.
that Brownsea Island?
Brownsea Island is just there, yeah.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it there. Well, glorious. And what I love as well, Clive, is there's nobody else there. So socially distanced and everything proper.
We've got our little picnic area there. Can you see that there? If I just tilt it down there, where we've got the
I like that.
tables and people can go along there. And it's just lovely to be with one of nature's beauty spots. The largest natural harbour in the world there.
Is it really? Good heavens.
Yeah, I mean, some people say it's Sydney, but they tampered with theirs a bit, so it's not completely man-made, although theirs is very deep. Okay, I'm just taking you back up.
No, I like this. This feels very real. This feels very sort of Anneka Rice-ish. So we're challenging Clive today, which is glorious. That was stunning, though. I love a bit of the seaside. I'll tell you what, I've always loved the water. I grew up by the water in Bracklesham Bay. We had a good chat with some people in Bracklesham Bay yesterday, and I loved it down there. So anything to do with water, I guess it's all to do with my being a crab. 7th of July, don't forget that birthday. Anyway, it looks good. So we're back with you, Clive. I'm talking about record breaking. A little bit later on in the show, we're going to have a little chat with you about that, because you've broken all sorts of records, haven't you?
Absolutely, there. And I've got a special one, because I've been working a bit too hard. You know, when I get called to companies or we're on telly, they say, oh, you've got to do your world record. Let's see if you can beat it in a minute. And, you know, I'm at a certain age now where you have to do the minute. You don't get a rest. You've got to go straight the way through, and it's the pressure on. So I'm going to be setting a different type of world record here. I'm speaking to Guinness about it at the moment, and but we'll have a run through at the end of the programme here.
Anyway, a little tantalising, whatever that is. So by the end of this programme, we're going to be told all about the Guinness World Record. In the meantime, you've got some of Tommy's props you're going to talk us through.
I've got some exciting ones, and I love looking through. Now, tell me when it's in focus there, Andrew. Can you?
Yeah, that's in focus. I love that. That's Tommy on the front cover of the Magic Circular.
Okay, so this was 1957, the year I was born, and this was the 1st of June. So tomorrow, this magazine is 63 years old. And what's great about it, it opens up and it's talking about the Magic Circle's annual banquet and David Burglass, one of the greatest magicians ever. I was so chuffed when his son and his wife and his family came to see my Tommy Cooper show in theatre up in London, and he gave us the big thumbs up. Great. So Marvin is great, but his dad and there. But who did they choose to put on the front cover? Tommy or David? Are they incredible there? So that's an ever. So do you remember that programme? Have you got that one there?
I have seen it, but I was but a nipper on those days. That was some years ago. But no, I loved all of that. But Tommy quite rightly should be on the front cover. And David himself, and indeed Marvin, and indeed I had. We've all been on front covers of the Magic Circle. It's rather fun.
Absolutely. And when I'm ever travelling to a gig, I always take a copy of the Magic Circle with me.
Yes.
So, when you're in your cabin there, what you want to do is instigate a little show. So if you have the Magic Circle magazine out and people say, oh, are you a magician? Can you show us a trick? Little do they know, I'm fully loaded, ready to go for a 45-minute set. Are you still there, Andrew?
Yeah, no, I'm still here. I'm still here. You carry on.
You've gone to get some of your props out now.
Oh, I was going to have a look. I was going to get you a front cover. It sounds rather good. I'll bring it back to you in a bit. Anyway, no, that's rather wonderful. Go on, I love that. So, no, the great thing about the Magic Circle is that we have some wonderful magicians. So we have David Berglas, we have Marvin Berglas, Paul Daniels is a member, Tommy was superb, but even HRH, Prince Charles is a member as well. So what I love is the massive diversity of people from every walk of life belong to the Magic Circle, the best magic society in the world, bar none.
The best and the longest. And talking about putting our great magicians on the front cover, I've got a wonderful collection of the old TV Times. And if they ever wanted to sell a few more extra copies of the TV Times, they put it on the front cover. I've even got the black and white ones when the printers were on strike and they soldiered on but back, and they put Tommy on. The only time he was shaken off the front page was with, as you mentioned earlier, Prince Charles went on the front page, and Tom still had his double page inside though. So that's great there. So I came across, but this is this is one of my favourite ones at all here, and I need to ask.
I remember that. That was fantastic, because Tommy, we've got the stamp as well as the first day cover. Remind us which year that was.
That was in '98. But what is really lovely, and you'll know this, that Tommy used to have his own stamps. Can you see the little red one there?
I do, the little one with the fairs. Just move it over. That's great.
So if you ever wrote to Tommy or Dove, they'd have these little stamps and they put it on the letter back there. And can you imagine it in '98 that Tommy was actually going to be on a real stamp? How fantastic would that have been? But I need you to clear up something, because often people ask me this, and I'm not a great one for facts and figures. When I do my show, it's all comedy, anecdotes. I don't say, oh, he did this in 1943, he did that. It's just non-stop fun magic. But you are a technical man. Now, Comic Heritage, the Heritage Foundation, this is a part of the commendable envelope there. And I was there, David Graham said, Clive, we're unveiling a blue plaque at Teddington Studios. Norman Wisdom was our president then. He nearly fell off the ladder. It was a fantastic afternoon. Paul Daniels did the auction afterwards. And Dove actually earlier on gave me Tommy's last fez, where the Sun valued it at £2,000, but she just wanted me to have it because I wasn't going to have any money to be able to buy things at the auction. Lovely box of tricks she gave me. And there it was. Okay, just park that thought for a moment. A few years ago, the English Foundation, English Heritage, rang me up and they said, will you come along with Greg Dyke and unveil the plaque outside Tommy Cooper's hut? It's on the telly. And now, so that was English Heritage, and people asked me that. And then we had Comic Heritage, which turned out to be the Heritage Foundation, where I ended up doing the auctions for them. And again, at Duena's house in Oxford there, in that lovely barn where she took me on that tour with all Robin's gold discs. And, there's little old me. I can't believe it that I'm going to be, raising a few £1,000 because, the Bomber Command one, that's what all our money went to at the end there. Now, can you remember all those questions?
No, you had a question. I think what I love about you, Clive, is every time we get to have these wonderful conversations, there's like 1,000 facts at once. And somewhere, this is where we go for the world record, somewhere you're going to pause for breath and say, well, there's a question mark or whatever it is. But I love all of that. So you mentioned Dwena Gibb, and as you know, RJ is Robin Gibb from the Bee Gees' son. And we have a business together called KTT, Not the Truth. And we're building on the legacy. That was the reference there. You talked about the Heritage Fund and about blue plaques. And as you know, I helped organize the blue plaque for the Magic Circle and the very first meeting that was held in 1905 for 23 magicians at a restaurant called Pinoli's on Wardour Street in Chinatown. And I helped organise that with Mike Reed, and Mike Reed has spoken about this on this programme as well. I'm not sure if that was one of your questions. And Dwena, as I say, is lovely. She lives down in Tame, where they've lived for many, many years. They're at Oxfordshire, in a glorious place. And you were involved with the Bomber Command as well, you were saying.
Yeah, well, I was involved with the Heritage Foundation, which was originally Comic Heritage. And I remember our first one. Do you go back as far as David Graham? Do you remember David Graham? Who
I remember
really
the name, but my involvement was more in recent years rather than all those years ago. But actually building on that fantastic heritage and the legacy in terms of taking the music of RJ's uncle and his father's, as well as his own music. That's what I'm involved with.
Yeah, well, that's what people say to me. The different types of blue plaques. That's where they get confused, and I don't really know, even though I was at Tommy's in Teddington Studios, and someone stole it. Did you know they stole all those lovely blue?
Well, I do know there's a lot of trouble with blue plaques, and all the planning that's involved with lots of different people, including Ian Freeman, who's going to be on this show as well. And he's the person from the Royal Variety Performance charity, and he does things like the Royal Command Performance, the Royal Variety Show, and they do this fantastic thing for Brinsworth House. So he's the treasurer of that. He was on there as well with Mike Reed and Vanessa Brady as well. And the idea is that they recognise different places around. They did lots with the BBC. There's a lot of negotiation that goes into putting blue plaques up. It's no good just slapping one on a wall. For example, with the Magic Circle one on Wardour Street, we had to get Westminster's permission. We had to make sure the restaurant was on board. We had to make sure Dynamo was available to come and unveil it, and then organise a party inside. And Shaftesbury were involved, and lots and lots of different people. So the great thing is there are lots of people involved in making this happen. And you're right, one of the factors that people do is to make sure that people don't nick it. So we make sure it's a certain height up and it's put in with certain bits and pieces so that it is secure for many, many years to come. But if people want to go and see the blue plaque for the Magic Circle, you can go and have a look. 1905, it's on Wardour Street at Panoli's restaurant, which is number 17 Wardour Street. And the plaque is still there after all these years. And we did it just about 4 or 5 years ago. It was unveiled, and it was ever since the Magic Circle was set up in 1905, people have been saying, let's get a blue plaque up to commemorate where those 23 magicians first met. So that's what happened on that side.
I mean, it's one of my highlights there. When I got the phone call, we were out in Palm Beach at the time, and we came back earlier.
You were where, Clive? I love it when you say that. I was out in Bognor Regis at the time. I love it.
And they said, do you want to come along and with Greg Dyke unveil the plaque? And if you want to have a look at it, it's one of my favourite ones, outside Tom's house. And we had the blue plaque really quite up high, and there was balloons that we let go. Then after that, we went inside in Tom's house, and I did a show for the friends and family that now own the house. And one of Tom's tricks that he loved to do, and Fisher recounts it, was the card on the ceiling or the card on the wall. And Tom could never get it to stick on. You know the one that
I know the one, yes.
So I said to him, it's one of my favourite ones. The 3 card tricks that are rated the top 3 in the world is the one that fooled Winston Churchill, the one that the rising card that the great Jeff McBride honed in with me, and card on the ceiling, Michael Amar. Which is a great one, and that reminds me. Oh, do you know? I asked, did you know Peter Dyke from World Promotions? I know you're sort of. He was.
I know all sorts of different people, but yes, was he on the ceiling as well? What I love, it's always a challenge, Clive. I had to weave together your stories, which makes sense. So there's a card on the ceiling. Did I know Peter? He was on the ceiling, living on the ceiling. Blancmange did a single called "Living on the Ceiling." I remember that from the 80s. And the 80s is when you first got the stamps done. I knew there's a connection there somewhere.
No. Dykey from World Promotions, he took me to Egypt, Israel, part of the Imperial Tobacco, Italy, Greece, when corporates had loads of money. And we're in the Sistine Chapel, and he wanted me to do card on the ceiling and try and get it in God's hand.
Well, I hope you didn't.
It's the only time I've refused. But anyway, we're back in Tom's house now.
Oh, we are. Oh, thank goodness. I always had to go and have a lie down afterwards. I've got Clive on here. My whole family says, "All right, we'll prepare the bed. we'll get you a piece one afterwards." Go on then.
Well, this is it. I get a prop out and I get overexcited.
I love it. I love it. I love the excitement, as we discussed last time, is so infectious. It's got to be good. So what have you got here? Show some of the other stuff.
so I'm finished the story.
Oh, no, back to this story. Was this a story?
Well, we're still on the same story. I'm in Tom's house now, and it's just fab there. The loo is still in the complete original condition, where Tom used to have packs of cards in there and go and shuffle. So I had to go in there and go to the loo and practice a few card tricks there, just to really, I felt I was really energized because I was going to do a show in his front room. Yes. And I explained the story that when he was doing it with Vicky, he could never get the thing to stick on the wall or the seat, and they just used to fall about in laughter. And there's only been 2 times that I haven't managed to get it to stick on the seat, both at Tommy Cooper Society events where we were raising fund. You remember the statue where we were with? I do drop the odd names, Sir Anthony Hopkins. I don't know. Was you invited to that one?
So Anthony is a fantastic Tommy Cooper fan, and he also does one of the best impressions of Tommy Cooper. He's got the voice, mannerisms, perfect chap.
He is my second favourite. Lenny Henry is the first, and Sir, or he told me to call him Tony, but I don't know if it's Sir Anthony to you, Mr. E. Okay, so right, let me come back to that because the Caerphilly Castle is a different story. But before we had the lovely 9-foot bronze statue there, we had to raise funds for it, and we used to put on events. And the 2 times it's never stuck on the ceiling were both at Tommy Cooper charity events there. So I explained all this to them. And I said, right, this hasn't been done in Tom's house now since he was obviously last year, many years ago. So we did all this. And I'm sure Tommy allowed it to stick on because normally he doesn't buy. And there it is. And I bet if you contact them now, along with the blue part being up on the house, the card is still on the ceiling.
It is quite incredible. And I look forward to seeing it, and I'm sure it is. What was the card? Do you remember?
No, I think it was the 4 of Hearts. But
no, it's always good because magicians, being magicians, can be very, very clever once they go in and they can do that. You could have helped a few people out there. Because I also know, I go to lots of the finest restaurants and finest venues in all sorts of places, and I can tell when certain magicians have been there because you look up and there's a card stuck on the ceiling. So you're one of the people. And I'm so pleased you didn't do it to the Sistine Chapel because that would have been appalling. But glorious. Well, show us some of the props. What have you got? Show us what you've got today.
I've got this one here. Now let me try. Do you know this prop?
Yeah, absolutely. But I'd love to see you do it. Go for it.
Let me just tell you something that I was. Do you know Judge Brown, Gary Brown, who's a judge in New York?
It's one of those sort of famous names, but no, I don't.
Yeah, he's also a member of the Magic Circle, okay? So when he only does this on certain cases, but when he's briefing the jury, and he uses this, and I just thought it was lovely because they all know he's a member of the Magic Circle. He uses this to show that maybe things are black and white, and maybe they're not. And he goes on to reveal. So, and he just feels using this prop sets the scene, and to me it put a whole new energy on it. Anyway, this is one of the old props here, and as you can see, it's in black and white. It's got a dot there. Is it a dot on both sides and a dot there? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to right up like that. You see, area, it's just by your nose, Andrew. And there it is there. Do you see? And what's that? Back again. All right, back again. Here we are. One on both sides there. One on both sides there. And up and down. Thank you very much. Now, just have a look. I'm going to let you have a close-up look at that. If you ever come down to Paul one day, I might let you touch these. But, look at those. What a wonderful piece of history there. And they make these for the kids in the little plasticky things, don't they? And to tell such a great story with that. But that's those. This is one that I like because I should have a jacket on for this, but I'll just stick it. I've had this waistcoat sent to the cleaners. Do you like it? They do a good job at pressing it there. Look. Right. But I've got this one out here because I know that you're a good mind reader, aren't you?
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, I'm a big fan of Mel Mellors. He's one of your mind reading fraternity, isn't he?
He's great, Mel. We love Mel. Good shout out to Mel.
Mel is just great, and Mel just lived up the road in Bournemouth. And 35 years ago, when Mel was cutting, he's a big fan of Tommy Cooper, by the way. When he was cutting his teeth, he used to work at a hotel called the Manchester Hotel.
Oh, great hotel. Great hotel.
And I used to sneak in the back. Or sometimes you get caught and you'd have to pay £1 just to watch Mel hone in his act. And I couldn't believe, because I was from the world of stand-up comedy. I'd always loved my magic, but essentially stand-up comedy or an after-dinner speaking, talking about fun stories from the world of motoring, being the record holder for the most different driving license. So that was my world. And then someone said, do you want to come and see Mel? And he was just incredible. And I just used to love to go down there. And so funny. And I love the way sometimes someone would heckle him and he just looks at you like that. And what he's thinking of, it's almost like he's a sniper getting the crosshairs in him. He adjusts his glasses like this, and you just know you shouldn't have said that to Mel, and you're going to get this. So Mel is fab. Anyway, he'd just come back from a cruise, and he was giving a talk at our local magic circle, and I walked in, and he said, "Oh, hello, Clive. I've got this trick for you. It's you because Tommy would have loved it." And of course, I was the bee's knees at the circle that day. Mel Mellors knew I. So this is dedicated to Tommy, Mel Mellors saying hello. And this is just a normal pack of cards. And I'm just going to shuffle them like that. Now, what I want you to do, Mr. E, is just think of a card, have it in your mind.
Okay, anyone at all. I've got a card.
You got it in your card, right? Think of that card.
Yeah, I'm thinking of it.
Mel. So now, Mr. E, what is the card you're thinking of?
It's the 7 of Hearts.
The 7 of Hearts. No, you're joking, aren't you?
No, 7 of Hearts.
7 of Hearts.
7 of Hearts.
I mean, the 7 of Hearts. I'm just looking through here, and you know, it's the only one that's not in here.
Good
and
heavens.
The 7 of Hearts, I put in my pocket earlier on.
Let's have a look.
Look.
It's in the pocket, yeah. Oh, fantastic. Look at that.
Look, I'll show you. Do you want to see how it's done?
You go on then.
Look, it starts off in the pocket like that.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah.
And we put it in the pile like that.
Yeah.
You thought of the 7 of Hearts, and it just jumped straight out there, back into the pocket.
Oh, amazing. Fantastic stuff. What I love, Clive, you could be your own little fun factory, couldn't you? You could sit in a corner all by yourself and just amuse yourself all day. It's fantastic. I love it. That was brilliant. Well done.
Here's another one. Look, I've got an original set of bottle glasses, which we'll bring out.
The classic. That's what everybody remembers Tommy for. And I remember when I first saw him do that fantastic trick. And I made one myself, completely different method, but I made one myself because I was in a local scouts, dibba-dobba-dib, always be prepared. And I had this wonderful blank table. And I cut 2 holes. I had no idea how it was done. No idea, still no idea to this day. And I cut 2 holes in the table. And I basically, we had 2 buckets because we used to have horses in those days. So there were horse buckets. And I put the horse bucket here and a horse bucket here. And we basically had the bottle here and the glass here. and it would change places, and people would go crazy, and it would work. And then at the end, I would pull the thing away, and underneath I had a little assistant who was doing this. Completely different method, nothing to do with that. It was just done as a gag, and I was about 7 at the time. But Tommy was the inspiration just for thinking of doing things differently. But you've got some original ones of those, have you?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a look, there's a clip of me doing the bottle glass at the bar at a wedding in a great big barn, and the crowd just go crazy. It's like seeing the Fez when the bottle glass comes out. You have to do it at the end. And some people, when they rebook me and they say, Clive, you did the linking rings, Tom's duck, the bottle glass, the rope. Can you? What we want is something. Change them for something. And I said, if I didn't do them, you will get lynched. It doesn't matter whether I did it last time. People want to see them every time. It's a bit like...
I think as well, Clive, being a tribute act, as you like, people always want to hear the songs. Like an ABBA tribute, if they didn't do Mamma Mia, people would grizzle, wouldn't they? So you've got to do with Tommy. These are his #1 hits. Well, you've got to go out there. It's like the duck. Have you got the duck as well?
Absolutely, I've got a few of them. I've got a special one, but we can bring that out. We can make him a guest appearance later on.
Oh, you've got a few ducks. You've got a whole flock of them, have you? I love it.
A whole herd of them.
A herd of ducks, absolutely. God, it's writing itself for this. God. So what else have you got? What are you going to show us? What else have you got?
Now, do you know what this is?
Go on, the four of diamonds. The ace of diamonds. Okay,
so you're looking at things in a two-dimensional way, aren't you? But watch this. Now, I don't want to scare you, but am I messing up with your assumptions here? So I don't like to move this around too much because it's a lovely one, and I've got this one here, which I actually use to demonstrate the lovely thing. And again, it's to do with people's perceptions, isn't it? There that you think because I've got that there that is a 4, and when I do that there that would be a 3. And I use this in my business talks to stop people assuming things, because of course we can just move things around, because that there you think is a 3 because I've got it covered. So, but you mustn't assume it unless you're a magician, of course, because it will be. Okay, and it's the same with this one here. People think that that's if you go like that, it's a 6, or they could think it's a 4. But actually, you know, it is a 6 unless I say to you, what is it there? How many? You can say, no, you're right. You mustn't assume things. So that's quite. Have you got the idea of this one? So you know how it is on the back here, don't you? Good.
Hey.
So that is just one of these lovely ones here that Tom did to great effect, great hilarity there, and just end up throwing it on the floor. But actually, this can teach us a lot about humans and how we see things, really. So that is just a real powerful one.
What I really loved about Tommy's stuff, Clive, is that everything, it didn't matter what the trick was, it was just a vehicle for the man, and people were just loved him. He had the capacity to make people laugh before he even said a word, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, people used to say, I love that man. You jump into a taxi and they say, I loved Tommy there. And what comedian do they say use it as quite a powerful, emotional type, you know, and they mean it. And it's the type of person that you would like to buy a drink at the bar and spend some time with. And when I'm working in Eborn, I've been there 7 times now. Dove and Tom used to have a lovely cottage there, which has this lovely silhouette of Tom with the doves coming out on the wall. Well, up the road there is the Lamb Theatre, the Lamb Pub, where Tom used to drink. And there's a little theatre on the top there where you can put on shows, weddings and that there. and I can drink with the locals. Some people still remembering being in there and sharing stories. So when I'm there, it's pretty hardcore. I did a 3-hour show one afternoon in the Lamb. People that were really loved Tommy Cooper, and the local reporter, I never eat, but 3 hours is much too long for a show, unless you're Ken Dodicles. But he goes, I didn't know which bit to cut. So they just sat there. I mean, but you only do that with hardcore Tommy Cooper fans. They know, and they want frocks, gags, and the stories, the lovely people that have met Tom along the way. And I remember, do you remember Mary Kay?
Of course, yeah.
Mary Kay, just for the people that may not, was Tom's personal assistant for 17 years. And I used to love to, whenever I was going up and down the motorway, she lived in Weston-super-Mare with her man, William. And I used to love to go in and share stories and memories, just some really incredible ones. And I think, because I wanted, when I did my tour of the Tommy Cooper show around the UK, I wanted to talk about Mary because it's an important part of the life, but I didn't know quite. So I had a meeting with Paul Daniels, who loved Tommy. And what I loved about when I walked into Paul's house there, he had the statue of Tommy Cooper on his mantelpiece, exactly the same one as what I did. And so I said, look, Tom, this is, look, Paul, let me just get this. I said, I don't believe there was this incredible affair that the Sun zooped up, you know, just to sell books there. Because when I performed some magic from Mary, it was like, for a kid, the eyes, you know, when you take a ball and you just pop it in your hand like that and it disappears, and her eyes were just wide, and you sort of make it reappear again. It is just incredible. And we spoke about how we're going to do this story, and that she told me. So Tommy was out on set, and he was dressed up in a suit of armour, and he had to walk up all these flight of steps to get to the hotel reception room to deliver the punchline. Now, he didn't particularly like TV, but he had to do it because he knew that that's where, you know, the money and that's how the world was going. So he had to do all these sets. So he's walking up the steps, and then halfway out, he says, stop, the plane going over. Back down again, Tom. Back and starting to sweat already. Right, everyone ready? Go. Okay. Halfway up the steps in this suit of armour there, just getting near the top. They said, stop. The sound man has forgot to turn the sound back on. Come back down again. So 3 or 4 problems every time, just to get to do this one punchline where he eventually walks in with the suit of armour up to the reception, and he says to the girl, have you got a room for the night? Now, Tom doesn't need that great big entourage, you know, that was the nearest he was going to get to a knighthood, perhaps. But he didn't need all that. He could just deliver. He didn't need all that visual, all this stuff. And that's why I like it. I don't even use a microphone if I can get away with it. No special effects, no music. All the energy comes from me, and it's out. Off I go, doing the jokes, doing the stories, doing the tricks, and being as close to the audience as I possibly can, you know, and so they feel part of it.
No, and we love it, and every time is just a little flavour of Tommy. And I think, as I said beforehand, people will just laugh at the man. As soon as you hear that, laugh. Even I remember going to see him at some events, and just seeing the shadow of him in the background would just start the audience off laughing, because it's all about the man, and so many people can learn so much from just that sort of time. It was irrelevant what tricks he did. And one of the lovely stories as well that used to be told is that when you mentioned about getting a drink, Tommy always used to say, look, have a drink on me, and to give people a tea bag, didn't he, famously? And that was always his way of making, because he was an extraordinary man, wasn't he? Did you ever meet him?
Yes, yes, I did. I remember hanging over the fence and didn't know in years to come that I'd actually be doing a tribute to him and saying, Tom, when I grow up, I want to be a magician like you. He said, of course, the famous line, well, you can't do both.
No, glorious.
But,
Well, we're going to come back after the break. We're going to see some more props. So tell us a little bit about this wonderful world record you're going to attempt. Tell us about it, Clive.
okay, well, as you know, I'm getting older now, and a minute, I've got to start slowing down a bit. So I've come up with a new world record, the most jokes in 30 seconds. So, you know, just toning it down. And my people are speaking to Guinness's people because it's ever so strict on the way that they sent BAFTA judges down to see me last time. Oh, do you know Penny Wolf-Bentley, who used to do all the judging? But anyway, so they send all these sort of high-tech people, and there's lots of rules that you've got to have to get a world record, because obviously you get a lot of publicity, go on great shows like yours. You know, you would be interested in speaking to me unless I brought a world record to the table.
I'd always be interested in talking to you because it's a challenge, Clive. I tell you, it's like herding cats. Actually, herding cats is much easier. It's going to be...
Can we ask people to write in where we've opened questions and not closed them to remind us which ones we should finish off
I think
with?
no, that the letters would be too long, that the postman would get a hernia. You can, I don't think any question, you never answered a question. That's what I love about it. It's going to be good.
Do you think I'd have made a good
barrister? Is there a
barrister?
record at the moment, or are you just making it up?
No, there's not. So when there's a new record introduced, you've got to, there's got to be big meetings about it.
Okay.
You know, oh yeah, you can't do these things lightly.
So the most jokes in 30 seconds, what was the most you did in 60 seconds? What was the most in a minute?
On Newsnight, I did 32.
32, okay.
But the official one, when I was finishing off my tour there on stage, I did 26.
Okay.
I'll show you it here.
Here we go. Oh, he's up. He's up and getting the jokes. Well, you're going to get your award. This will be rather fun. Here we are. So this is the Guinness World Records for the most jokes told. The most jokes told in 60 seconds, which was a record. Here it is. Here's the certificate. And read it out to us, Clive. What does it say? Read it out.
Well, the most jokes told in 1 minute is 26, achieved by the incredible Clive St James.
Who's he? Who's he? What does he want?
On the 22nd of June. So 3 weeks' time, you know, and that's 2000 and...
and that said how many jokes on that certificate?
26.
So 26, because you mentioned 32. So 26 was the record then, and then you beat it.
Yeah, I've beaten it, and I've beaten it several times. But unless all the judges there and official timekeepers, yet the Guinness aren't going to entertain doing it.
Oh no, I get it, but we can maybe have a little bit of fun. So half of 32 would be 16, half of 26 would be 13. So somewhere between 13 and 16 for a 30-second record would be pretty good. What's the most you've done in rehearsal?
I'm around 15.
Oh, that's pretty good, you see. Okay.
I'm because I've had a lot of time off doing the speed jokes there, so I've had to up my game a bit more.
So what we're doing in the next episode, we're going to bring you back, and we'll have to work it out. I'll do the timing. We'll work out how many games, because you know how many you've got to get through. Yes. So when we come back after the break, we're going to attempt this brand new record. It's never ever ever been done before, so it's not even going to be broken. But it's the most jokes in 30 seconds in rehearsals. If it's somewhere between 13 and 17, he's doing amazingly well. But for now, Clive, thank you. It's always a joy to see you.
Good night.
You take care. It's going to be a good night. I think that's always a joy. Take care. We'll see you next time, Clive. Bye-bye. So there you go, back again with the #1 self-proclaimed Tommy Cooper tribute. That's Clive, who's become a regular here. He's always phoning me up and saying he'd love to come on and show us all of this stuff, and we love it. So it's always good. Tommy, beyond doubt, was the guy who got me involved in magic in the first place. He's the one to blame, because I loved his warped sense of doing things. And I think that was really, really cool. And as I say many, many times, it doesn't matter at all what tricks he did. It was all about the man. The tricks were just the vehicle, and what a brilliant man he was. We're going to get Clive back. He is going to attempt this world record right here, right now, on Lives on Lockdown. Do join me next time with Clive St James and the world record for most gags in 30 seconds. Until then, be good, and I'll see you next time.